Hey everybody, I'm glad to be back. This video contains mature subject matter recommended for viewers over 18 only. This is Neon Wrangler, and I am happy to see you guys again. I've had a bout with strep throat, so I was off for about a week. It was not a lot of fun. Glad it wasn't COVID again, but I'm doing fine. Got some medicine. I'm coming. I ain't back to 100%, but I'm getting there. Um, uh, Before we jump back into some paranormal stuff for the show, I wanted to do some palate cleansing, as it were, and I wanted to discuss some more misadventures that might be a lot of fun for you guys to hear. Not might be, they're gonna be. Now, let me show you who they are. These are the adventures of Lynn and Swunky, two real guys I knew when I was a young man in right before high school. Now, let me tell you about this. Lynn and Swunky were the two biggest guys in the school. You could probably tell from that little picture that I drew. They were buff. Lynn looked like a bodybuilder. Swunky was just as big and strong. They could have easily been the terrors of the school bullies, but they're two of the funniest, nicest guys you'd want to meet. And so I can't give them enough credit for that. They were great. They were great dudes, and always getting in trouble, constantly getting in trouble. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you what Lynn's trick used to be. If we ever had a substitute, oh my God, that poor lady. As you can see, Lynn's an African American young man, and he always kept in his locker a huge afro wig, and a different shirt that he would put on. So if we had a substitute teacher, about halfway through class, he'd ask to be excused, and he would go out in the hall. He'd put on his afro wig and change his shirt, and he'd come back and he'd sit in a different place in the classroom. Now this would start to confuse the substitute. She'd like, where, what the hell, you know? By this time, the class is trying not to lose it, not to laugh their asses off, not to just bust out. And we're sitting there, and Lynn's like, what, you know? And it was just terrible. But anyway, then he would take off he'd take off the afro wig. The shirt didn't matter at this point. As soon as he did that, she'd recognize him. Oh, he also had a pair of glasses, like Clark, not really like Clark Kent glasses, but he'd put those on too. So he looked like a totally different guy. Would freak them out. It was funny as hell. And when we knew he was doing it, it was hard not to lose it even before he came back in the room. That was one of Lynn's big uh, that was one of his big pranks whenever we were in school. Swunky's prank was a little weirder, okay? Now, back in the day, back before many of you were born, we had to take PE. You didn't get to opt out. You didn't get to do any of that. Now, PE wasn't that hard. We'd play dodgeball. We'd play volleyball. We'd go run around the park that was next to the school. Nothing intense, just you know, a very active social hour. Sometimes we'd square dance, believe it or not, which nobody seemed to mind. It was just something to do. And you'd do your 20 minutes of PT, then you'd sit on the bleachers for the next 40 minutes with your friends. So anyway, during PT, we had to wear uniforms for the schools. Okay, the uniforms were we all wore the same uniform. They were white shorts, white T-shirts, and then I think our logo was a bulldog, a blue bulldog. So we'd put those on, run out, get out of the locker room, do our PE, run back to the locker room, change, shower, and all that kind of thing. Well, whenever he could, Swunky would intentionally forget his white boxer-looking gym shorts and would have his tidy whities on, and he'd come out and try to see how far he could get through PE with his tidy whities without getting noticed. The most fun thing is when Swunky, we'd have to run around this park, and this park was pretty big. He'd be halfway around the park when the teacher would notice, so he'd have to run all the way back in his tidy whities, laughing his ass off. Okay, so that was Swunky's big, I don't know what you'd call it. That was his gag that he would try to pull, whenever that was least expected. Now the day came, and they hung around with him. I hung around with them, myself, and about 4 or 5 other guys. We were kind of a group. And one day, Lynn and Swunky came up with the idea we were going to start a gang, but not a violent gang, not a fighting other gangs. We were going to start like a spy gang, like a secret, subversive gang, and we were going to call it conspiracy. So one day they come in and they had all of the the cards cut up that said you're a member of conspiracy, and they handed them out, and I helped them make the cards. I was in the upper echelon here. And what you would do to be in the member of conspiracy was we'd go into library for art time. I don't know why our art class was in the library, but we'd go in there, and then at the back, where the books were, back, well, the books were all over the place in the library, of course, but you go way in the back, okay? And we'd go back there, and it was my job to draw little tattoos on people that were the conspiracy tattoos. And they were just a simple, stupid skull. That was going to be our thing. So I got a skull tattoo I drew on me. I drew one on Lynn. I drew one on Swunky. I drew one on one of our other friends. So the four of us had our little skull tattoos on our forearms, and we got the other people that weren't quite part of our group, but were classmates who wanted to be in, had to go back and they had to get the tattoo, but they couldn't see. So we'd put their arm behind them and we'd draw the tattoo. Now their tattoo wasn't a skull. Take a guess what their tattoo was. Yeah, we, we drew a dick on their arm, okay? Now, I hate to say it, but now it wasn't quite with a Sharpie and it wasn't quite with an erasable marker. So it would come off, but you had to scrub the shit out of it to get it off. So that was our little conspiracy that worked out. I think we got 3 or 4 guys with it, and it was hilarious. And back then, the school wouldn't punish you. They'd laugh it off. Your parents wouldn't call the school and an outrage and all that kind of thing and yell at the teacher. They'd whip the kid's ass if the kid was dumb enough to have that done. So that was the great conspiracy gang. So anyway, these are just some of the adventures of Lynn and Swunky that we had whenever I was right before high school. But I hope you enjoyed today's broadcast. If you do, like and subscribe. That helps me. More people will see the channel. Also, if you would like, I want to show you something real quick. Here is my, maybe I can do it right. Oh, here's my slideshow. This is some of the merch you can get at my Etsy store, and you can go right here on the bio and see the link to it. You can get these cool coffee cups. You can get the coffee zombie. You have to have it. Cool t-shirts. We've got a coffee tumbler with the coffee zombie coming up, and so you can help out the channel that way. This is a sketchbook with that dragonfly I did on there. I love doing that kind of stuff. Here's the zombie coffee tumbler. Anyway, I don't want to bore you too much with that because I really appreciate you guys listening. Come on, turn back on. There you go. Appreciate you guys listening. Spread the word, spread the news, like and subscribe. And I'm going to be back next time with a very, very disturbing, dark story. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to be serious. This is one of the creepiest, most disturbing things I've ever seen. And you'll see that in the next couple of days. So anyway, hey, what is today, Saturday? Have a good Saturday, and or whatever day is that you're watching this, have a great one. I'll talk to you later. Neon Wrangler, out.